thought it was rich that you talked about the timing of the recall, given the delays the Democrats have been
But they're recalling him for no reason. I mean, it's really absurd. The way they were telling people, first they were telling it was the gas tax. And then, again, trying to recall Josh Newman, even though a Republican was the one that cast the vote. That
Didn't
made
Josh
this forward.
vote for that?
He did, but he was in the reason.
Well, so
he's
you
not
count the last vote as the only,
I count
as
that
the only
every
guilty
vote.
vote?
Every vote. Recall the Republican that voted.
Oh, by
for
the
him.
way,
You might
this is
have
our
better
open
chance.
mic segment, so so this is good. This is good. We'll keep going.
Yeah, but and again, you guys were scared. We have a supermajority. This is an opportunity for you to pick it up. I understand the politics of it, but Josh won that district fair and square, and he's doing a great job.
And he'll lose it fair and square.
Well, it's not fair and square when you recall for no reason. Is that fair and square?
Those are the rules.
Oh, the rules that you don't always like, but okay. Come on, guys.
Okay. Is there anything, I mean, there's a lot of things we've got to discuss. Any points you want to make? It'll be on our open mic, which means it won't be on air, but it'll be on YouTube forever, so people can watch it.
Forever and ever and ever.
Yeah,
be careful what you say, Scott.
Right.
Forever and ever and ever.
Anything, because
how about splitting up the state? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on out
that
there.
is so, yes. All right, let's, yes.
It won't happen. It won't happen.
Right. Explain your involvement or the Tim Draper thing. Just talk about.
Oh, Tim Draper wants to do this again. He believes that competition's good.
And who's Tim Draper?
He's a Silicon Valley billionaire that funded an effort to split the state into 6. It never even made the ballot. This time he did it in 3. He's trying to figure out different configurations. I got to tell you, I looked at that with him. It's hard to figure out the way to split the state.
But what's the purpose in doing so? I really just don't understand it.
Well, if you think the state is a model of governance, well, then you wouldn't understand it.
Right,
but,
I think
but
Democrats
it's
are in charge. It's working pretty good.
Yeah, so that's the point. I got to tell you, one more economic downturn, which won't happen with Trump in his tax cuts here, but one more economic downturn, you're going to see failing infrastructure all over.
Because we're not going to fund a tax gas.
Well, because you don't prioritize your spending the right way, and that's what's gone on in this state for 20 years now.
The problem is those initiatives. You have these initiatives that hamstring the legislature, and you have to spend X amount of your.
How about the argument that our friend John Morlock makes in the state Senate, which I find a pretty compelling argument, just as one of the examples of his jihad against Caltrans, which
Why
is
gotta be a
that.
Jihad?
Well, I referred to what John Morlock does with Caltrans as a jihad. I was being cheeky when I said that. Yeah. But he's been highly critical of Caltrans, our state transportation department. Well, here's what. But I'm just saying. Here's one of the things.
They say they have like 2,000 or 3,000, 4,000 more employees than they need to administrate that agency.
Yes, and here's John's point: engineering, and a transportation agency engineers a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. Right. Most states engineer out at least half of their engineering work. They contract it out.
Right.
Some states do 80 to 90%. California's 10%. Right. Now, what that means is that when you have economic downturns, things are slow. You've got all these people on the payroll, and they basically sit around and they don't do anything. And the state legislative analyst has said there's 3,000 jobs too many. You can do the math. That's a lot of money. John's saying that in passing this gas, or that his point is the Democrat-controlled legislature never does anything about that. They never look into that. But then, we need money. Let's raise taxes. So the point is that the Democrats are real quick to raise taxes because our roads are crumbling, we need to do this or that. But they never say, gee, can we spend our dollars more wisely? Now, how do you respond to that?
I don't think that's true. I think that's an incredible broad brush of looking at things. I mean, look, Scott, you were in charge of this
Does
assembly.
it pique your interest at all?
No, it's all very
with Josh, when I had Josh on, I brought that up with him.
Everything
and it's kind of like, well, yes, he basically said, I think this has merit, and I'd be willing to look at it. But right now, we had this issue, and that's not what we voted on. We voted on this.
In front of that. But even let's just say, and I don't know the details.
You're not very interested about that. You don't even say
that. How do you know if I'm interested or not if you don't let me finish what I'm saying? How's that? Let's try that.
Okay.
Thank
Touché.
you. It's not that I'm not interested. It's that I don't know.
It's my show. That's why.
That's right. It is your show. Maybe you'll invite me back after this. But I don't know what the cost savings would be. I'm not saying that there wouldn't be any, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be a hybrid of both. We should definitely have.
I'll tell you what. I'll invite you down to my office. I'll come to your office or up to your office in Long Beach, and I'll show you all the data on the billions that's wasted inside of Caltrans, and I'll trade your tax cut that you want so badly for the reforms, and you'll get the same amount of money.
I'm happy to talk about it. I think it's important to talk about. Listen, Democrats don't own all the good ideas. We probably have most of the better elected officials, but we don't have all the good ideas. So we were open to talking about it. But sometimes when the conversations are, dealt with, brought forward in such a ridiculous
you know
way.
what John would tell you is that you may very well intentionally,
Intentionally?
whatever,
Okay.
with good intentions, say, let's look into this, and then the engineers union comes to you and say, oh no.
Well,
hey.
listen, if they're willing to
And
do something,
that's
hold on.
the end of the
hold on.
discussion.
But when the Republicans won't have any sort of mandates on whoever we're going to hire, whether it's at the state level or the local government level, should be paying a living wage. You know, why are we hiring contractors using tax dollars to pay for contractors that are not paying a living wage?
Yeah,
so if you were there for that, then we can talk about what the unions are coming in because we're making sure that folks have
So
a
we
unions,
can't have reform because unless we agree to some legislation, unless Republicans agree to some.
Rick and Melahat, there's one big issue you haven't discussed today, and that is the Janus opinion that will be heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. That's going to deal with the conscription of union dues, the involuntary taking of union dues from union employees.
Man, that's a whole nother.
The point is that goes into effect. That will largely defund a lot of what the Democrats rely on.
The Citizens United, when you have unlimited monies coming in from wealthy Republicans, and you guys have the richer guys.
We're not saying yay or nay on that. We're just saying that the political reality is a lot of the union money will be dried up.
We should have publicly funded campaigns, and we wouldn't have to worry about any of this.
One other point, and this is a great discussion. This is going to be a nice long open mic segment. But one thing I did want to ask you about, Melahat, is the polarization that we have in our political process now. And is that politics?
It's gotten worse.
Well, all right, but you used a term in our discussion. You referred to Donald Trump as an orange buffoon. Okay, all right. Now, a lot of people, a lot of people totally agree with you on that. But isn't that the type of thing that coarsens our political discourse?
It does, and I did it because I know it would bring good ratings for you. I mean, the reality
Thank
is,
you.
You got it.
So you're doing it as a favor to me. All right.
I'm always thinking about you, Rick. But I will tell you, when we have someone in the White House who does not take the first opportunity to denounce the KKK or the Nazis and so on and so forth, and we have someone in the White House who got there on campaign rhetoric talking about Mexicans being rapists and banning all Muslims from the country.
But was
rhetoric.
Donald Trump endorsing the KKK?
They endorsed him.
Listen, I think our political culture lacks a lot of intellectual hospitality. And that is the idea that we could have a discussion and agree or disagree. And throughout the history of this country, Lincoln Douglas, they had some fierce debates. And debate is good, but when it gets down to just personal insults, we've sort of lost ground.
When this president questioned the validity of our former president, that's when a lot of this got started. We didn't want to legitimize the first black president that America had.
I don't think either party is sinless here, and so.
Oh no, but it got so much worse.
Yeah.
Well,
great. Well, on that line that you both agree that neither party is sinless. I know which.
Our sins are more fun.
I know which one. I know which party has more virtue in each of your opinions, but at least we are all sinners. So let's end on that note. We are all sinners, and we need redemption. So thanks very much.
Thank you.